Gary's running
Sorry,
late,
Rick, I'm
so,
Bill. Hi, Rick. I remember, Rick Schumann, right?
yeah, Laura will not be able to be here tonight, and Henry is not able to be here. You are live, so. just so you're aware.
Okay, and it is 5:30, so let's call the meeting to order at 5:30. Bill, would you lead us in the pledge?
Gladly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I do not have any.
Okay. Bill, do you have an adjustment?
Yes, and can you give me a hint? Because I'm blanking and we only talked about this 2 hours ago. I'm sorry.
You asked about bringing up the, getting information on the Zoom.
Yes, Priscilla, I don't know if you received the CC, but I sent a message with that, clipping to Rick, and I CC'd Andy.
Okay, let's put Zoom on the, agenda as new business.
Okay,
And we can talk about it at that point. And
Very
see what the board, what if the board needs to do anything or not do anything.
all right.
Okay, so put on is B. Anybody else have any adjustments? Yeah, I think everything else can be covered under the things that are on here. So communications and public comment.
Doesn't seem to be any.
Not seeing any. Review and approve board minutes of July 17th. We're also missing August 1st, but we'll need to do those, I guess, next time. So,
Approval of the July 17th minutes.
okay, are there any corrections?
If I may, under my capital improvements maintenance schedule, it was pointed out that Kerry had mentioned about the testing being done in at Central Elementary School, and as I noted in the previous email, that was not the case. That was not something I stated. What I did state was
Okay,
that.
Rick, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yep, that's okay.
Are the minutes okay the way the minutes are, and then we'll address the correct?
Sure. Wherever you want to go
Because
back.
that's
Yep.
what happened at that meeting. So is that,
Well, that's not what I stated. That's what I'm getting at. What I
did you state it differently at the meeting?
I did not state that at all. All I stated was that the PCB testing was several months out.
And that was at the meeting under
Yes.
old business? So you didn't share, you shared the capital improvement and maintenance schedule?
Yeah,
Still got.
yes, all that is
PC
correct.
Testing results. It says should be back for in a few weeks. So what you're saying is you shared that the PCB testing results. The PCB testing was taking place a few months out.
Right, what I shared was they did an initial walkthrough in each building and the
Okay,
actual testing is several months out.
okay, so the PCB testing was started with a walkthrough, but the actual testing will be several months out.
It was initial walkthrough, which is the way they had planned on doing it. There was initial walkthrough for all the buildings. Testing is at least a couple of months out at this point.
So I'm gonna change that to the PCB testing. We started with an initial walkthrough.
Well,
And the actual testing will be several months out.
yes,
And that's what you stated at that meeting.
right, there was no testing done, to be
Okay.
clear. There was just a walkthrough.
And actual testing will be
Correct,
several months out.
correct.
I wasn't understanding that that's exactly what you stated. I thought we needed to correct it this time, but if that's what you actually stated, we need to correct it.
Yes, that is what I stated, yep.
Good, thank you.
Priscilla, Carrie misstated the facts. She said the testing had been done in her school and it hadn't been. Only the initial walkthrough had been done. Rick didn't even talk about it. So Rick, we're just correcting that because the testing hasn't been done at any of the Rockingham schools. Carrie misstated the facts. It's just a mistake on her part.
Right, which would be corrected at tonight's meeting, but we can correct it here. It's not a problem, I don't think. We just wanted to be careful that we're not misleading the public and so that they're aware of it. Thank you, Chris, for weighing in on that. I appreciate that. Okay. We'll take care of that. So with those corrections, are we okay with the minutes? Anything else? Chris, do you see anything else?
No? I'm good.
No,
Wait,
thank you.
yeah. All right, so we'll accept the minutes with corrections and take out Rick's statement on PCB testing that was in there and fix that. Okay. All right. Reports. We didn't vote on them, but we will accept them as they are corrected. We don't actually have to vote on them. So, although we do do a motion, so. All right, is everybody in agreement? Can I see a thumbs up from you, Chris, if those are okay with the corrections? And everybody here that way. I kind of polled each one of you with the actual person. All right, finance report. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Jim.
So I wanted to have you, I just wanted to kind of true up the balance for the end of 22, which was a long time ago, but we were late with the audit this year. So if you would turn to page 16, which is statement C. And you'll see an assigned there's an assigned which is over on the left-hand side down below, and it says assigned is 2,179,935. And above that, you'll see a committed, which actually is 21. And on right in here, and 21 is 2,015,156. Now, I want to give you, to go along with this, is the Schedule C for 21. So it just shows that really everything is been trued up, even though it was a long haul to get there. And essentially, the auditors have come up with final balances. And on this sheet here that I've done, this shows how you have assigned your balances and how that ties into the audit, your 4,195,091, and how you have assigned to offset taxes and how much went to capital reserve for improvements. So this ties right out to what your past audits were. Now, also in this paper, I've got this year's for 23. This is unaudited, this is what I've come up with so far. And if you've,
What page are you on?
Well-
Second page of the smaller packet.
yeah, I didn't number the page, but it's kind of, it says on top, fiscal year 23 projected unreserved fund balances.
Thank you.
Yep. Everybody find it okay?
Mhm.
So you'll see for Rockingham, okay, and no surprise here, we were projecting a 40,419 deficit. And with the substitutes that were transferred from the SU over to the Rockingham accounts, we now have a deficit of 80,724. Is it concerning? No. No, and again, you have to look at the big picture here. And that is, Jim, the big picture of
The big
150,000 in tuitions that you didn't budget for. We got that in. Again, there were some changes in personnel at the middle school, which again created costs. And there were some other areas that were misbudgeted. So now,
What about surplus? Those surpluses are on there, and chances are they have a surplus too, which would offset if you're doing substitutes back to us.
that's right.
Wouldn't you have to do surplus back to us as well? for last
If you
year?
turn that page,
But that's for the previous year.
if you turn that page for 22, and that is your SU reserve, SU surplus that is going to be returned back to you. So Rockingham is going to receive back 815,847.41.
But that's from 2022. Won't there be a?
Yes, but you don't have that as yet.
No, but we don't have this charge for the substitutes yet either, because it's in the SU budget.
No, well, not anymore, but
That's finished.
yeah.
The year's
Okay,
over.
that's finished, so the surplus for this year should be finished too, so wouldn't that apply in the same place?
Well, so what's gonna happen is your operation, your operation was a deficit of the 80,724 for your Rockingham operation,
What about the surplus from the SU
without the surplus with the, from the SU,
for 23?
well, for 22. Because you're gonna get 22 surplus back.
We're gonna understand that.
Okay, so it's gonna give you 815,000. And again, your operation for 23 was a deficit of 80,000. Now your SU for 23, and I'm looking at this page. Here, on the top, Wickham Northeast, your balance so far, and this is unaudited balance, is at 282,260. That's what your
That's SU, yeah.
yeah, that's what the issue looks like. It's positive. It's no 800,000, but it's positive.
But if you to take our share of that,
Yes,
Priscilla, 2023 to 2023,
Right,
it's about $127,000,
right, which is more than 80,000.
which is more than 80,000.
Yep.
So, I
That's,
think
that's
that
what I was looking.
good way to look at it, but
keeping it year to year.
yeah. Yeah, so anyways, it's not bad, but until we get, the audit will start next Monday. And, we'll see where we go.
This is the audit for FY 23.
Yes.
I just want to point that out that we are well ahead of where we have been for the last few years, so.
man.
It's coming at a very inopportune time for us, but,
you know, once we get cleaned up too, these will really start to flow as they should. You know, where you're getting that, you want your audit received, so if there's corrections that you have to make, you can make them. You know, if there's modifications in your procedures, you want to be able to make those corrections and modifications and get it done, get up to snuff. So I think you're gonna be okay.
You know, when you look at that first page, and it shows the history since 2017, we've had additions to, we've had contributions to reserve in each of those years, including 2022.
Yes.
And I didn't do the math very quickly, but it looks to me like it's a good $1.5 million or so total
Yes.
reserve. Do you know if we made any charges to that reserve?
I don't know of any charges that were made.
Okay.
It appears that you've got 1,865,000 plus if you contribute more towards it with some of the surplus monies that you're gonna receive.
Right. So it's like 1,800,000.
Yes.
I think the majority of offsets we put towards taxes. And so to my knowledge, since I've been in this role, we have not gone into looking at tapping that capital reserves or anything like that.
I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, so-
But I won't go back.
But I just, as far as I know, for the last 2 years, we haven't gone into it, so.
Okay.
And Rick may have his
Since COVID
list.
started, we haven't done anything.
Yeah,
And before, then a little before that, because Rick had reported to us at one point, exactly, and I had it written down somewhere. The 620,000 may not include all the ones that are on here, the 40,652, which is why I wanted to go back and look at the ones before that. I'm also not sure when the 100,000 got put in, which would make that figure higher. And then we put in very 19,156 the year before, and we put 929,935 of what is voted this year. So it all went up to quite a lot in there, yes.
Now, I went back to the actual voted warrants to pull some of these off, but it ties into, I think, the audit accounts as well. So, but if anybody finds anything questionable, please, we'll look at it and adjust from there.
I look more.
Yeah, please.
But maybe it's
Yeah.
fine, but I'll look more for you.
Awesome.
Thank you for this, so this details it out and it agrees with
Yeah.
what I saw in the
Yeah.
warrants as well.
And any other questions? I mean, listen, I could spend a half an hour going through the audit itself because there's a lot of good information in there. If you look at how they break out the two pieces, you know, the fund accounting and the government-wide, it just is a good report, and it is valuable, even though I realize it's overwhelming for a lot of people, but there's a lot of good information in there.
Any questions for Jim?
And if you think of some later on that you want to email me, hey, please, I'd be happy to answer them later on.
Thank you so much for all you do.
All right.
It's a much better understanding of the detailed out and
Yes.
to talk to us, so we do appreciate you.
Good.
Okay. If there are no other questions at this time on finance, we'll go to principals reports. Do we have?
Carrie is here on Zoom, and then, I was able to pull up, I have Henry's and Laura's, and I can go through them briefly if you'd like.
Great, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Andy. Okay, Carrie, you're up.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So we're looking at projected enrollments. We just lost a student who had moved. We had heard they were potentially moving. We officially got the enrollment from the other school. So we were down to 138 students, but we also have some incoming potential move in. So the breakdown is K is potentially at 30 students right now. First grade is also 30. Second grade is 29. Third grade is 17. And that's just the one cohort this year. And then fourth grade is 32. All of the grades would have 2 of each grade, except for that third grade has that 1. So, and then just to update you, so we are officially have hired the 2 full new second grade teachers. So we warmly welcome Meredith Harvey and Paige Congdon to Central School. They've been in getting their classrooms ready. We're very excited and they're very eager to start. I just want to do a big shout out to Heather Murphy Hicks and all of the after school programming people and everybody else who's working the summer program. So Heather Murphy Hicks, Tammy Chapin, Ann Hadley, Nurse Jen Burke, Laura Rounds, Murphy Hicks, Heather's daughter, and then Jay Palmisano all worked this summer really hard at the summer camp that we had shared at Westminster School. And we appreciate their work with Kim Budzik, who was their coordinator there. And the students seemed to have a great time. I went with them on a field trip recently and everybody was having a fun time. And they were also doing schoolwork, which was lovely too. So they had the morning of academics and then the afternoon of some free to play time and things. So that was wonderful. I do want to clarify, I'm not sure I missed, sorry, earlier, whether Rick had mentioned anything. So we had asked about the PCB testing in the last time. So we had the PCB folks into our school. They came in, but because of the Canadian wildfires, they were not able to actually do all of the testing. So CES has not had its PCB testing finished yet. So we will wait updates for when they come back, and then we'll get the updates on how the testing has come. And so for families, just so you know, the class lists are being finalized and families should be soon notified of their teachers for next year. I have a few save the dates. So August 27th is the back to school carnival with Parks Place. It's a Sunday. The carnival will be between the whole street. We block off School Street Extension if you're not familiar with that. Hopefully we'll have the fire department again this year. They do the release of the water with the fire hydrant. But we do work closely with Parks Place and have a carnival going on. And so different representatives from the Rotary and the library and other places come. It's a fun time from 1 to 3. So we hopefully will see you there. We may have a dunk tank. Well, details about that later. But then also save the date for Tuesday, August 29th from 3:15 to 4:15 will be our open house to meet the teachers and the staff and kind of get a chance to look at the rooms. And then the next day is actually the first day of school. So on Wednesday, the 30th, we have the first day back. So for just those who are watching may not be familiar, our arrival time is 7:50 in the morning, 7:50. And that'll be for kindergarten to grades 4. But just a reminder for the kindergarten families that we will have those 3 first days as half days in order to get some meet and greets. And it's kind of like the scamp camp that we had done in the past. So they get a chance to work with the teachers, and then we fully assign the classrooms after that Friday before Labor Day. So they'll get a chance to meet both teachers again. They have met them at the open house that we had a kindergarten meet and greet before. And then they officially will be assigned then. And so just for everybody's reminders, so school is from 7:50 in the morning till 2:50 in the afternoon for grades 1 to 4. But those first 3 days of school, kindergarten will be picked up at 11:45. And also just to remind everybody that we have the kindergarten gets dropped off and picked up at the George Street entrance on the back of the school. First grade and second grade come in the main front doors. And then third and fourth grade are at the gym doorway to the left of the ramp of the side of the building. And so every grade level cluster has its own entrance. And so it helps break it up. So there's not everybody trying to come in the main doors at the same time. So again, it's 7:50 to 2:50, with the exception of kindergarten those first 3 days, which will be 11:45 dismissal on those 3 days. And then again, we're excited to get back to school and get everybody back in the building. Custodians, Ken and Sully and Noah from the middle school are really working hard to get the building going. Teachers have been in. We've been really working to get it looking spiff and span clean and shiny floors. And it's still a work in progress at this time. So please don't just stop by without checking in. There's hallways that are still blocked off because the floors are being waxed and dried and things. So as I said, messages will be coming out soon about teachers and class lists, and everybody's excited. Any questions or comments?
Carrie, thanks for the information. It's very useful. I was unaware of the carnival.
And I was also unaware of the open house, so thank you.
Surely, everybody's welcome, so.
Yeah, I'm also very glad to hear that we have 2 classes for K in first grade. I know schools where there are 30 in one class for K, 30 in one class for first grade, and I think we're blessed with the resources to not have to go that route.
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious, have you ever been placed, speaking of the carnival, have you ever been placed in the dump pack?
I have, and I will say there's a possibility you might see me again this year. Just put it out there. Those that want to see me be dumped certainly can join us on that day, the 27th. So, and there may be others, local celebrities.
Very good. $1 a throw?
It's a free throw, so you get a bonus there. You don't even have to do it.
Very good. Thank you.
I know it was fun last year, so I'm sure that all of Central families will thoroughly enjoy that. Thank you, Carrie. Anyone else? Okay, and
Saxon's River, let me start with that. Laura apologizes for not being able to be here tonight. Her projected enrollment is a total of 73 students. It's pretty consistent. From kindergarten to 4th, 16, 13, 12, 17, 15. So one classroom each. She currently has 2 open positions, school counselor and a paraprofessional. So she's actively working to fill both of those positions. And we're looking at strategies if we're unable to, how we can assist her through the SU if she's unable to fill those positions, but something she's been working at. She, same as Carrie, expressed, you know, a big thanks to Bert Lawrence and Sarah Lawrence for all their hard work over the summer. The place looks great right now, even if you go in. I went up and visited her the other week. And then what she talks about as far as supervision and evaluation and some of the things. So we basically have like 2 tools that we're using. So we have a teacher effectiveness and supervision plan. That's something we pushed out through the SU last year. As an administrative staff, we'll be working to tweak that a little bit. That's the formal observation plan, if you will. In quotes, I use it, meaning that it kind of maps out year 1, 2, and 3 for teachers as they go through. But part of that also is we use a tool called Observe for Success, the number 4. It's an online platform that allows us to do classroom walkthroughs. So we're in the classroom, principals are in the classroom on a much more frequent basis, and then providing some quick feedback to instructors on specific things that we're looking through. And so those 2 things we'll be tackling this week coming. As an administrative team, we're meeting Wednesday through Friday. And so that's one of our big agenda items, is to kind of tackle that and have a plan moving forward on how we're going to address that with teachers. And then she has capital needs and planning, which I think we're going to talk about later. Any questions?
any
I
questions?
can't answer any questions, but I'll definitely take them back to
That
Laura.
possibly Andy can answer.
I have a question about the Observe for Success in the classroom walkthrough. So when you're saying they'll tackle like training people, is it it's not the first year it's in use?
So no, this is really our 3rd year, going into the 3rd year being used, but we have a lot of new admin.
Yeah.
We were using it last year to kind of try and capture everything, and it really isn't designed for a long formal observation. It's really designed for a 5-10 minute go in the classroom, specific look fors, and to give that quick feedback to teachers, so that it's based on the work that Kim Marshall did, who was an administrator in Massachusetts. I want to think he published his thing 20+ years ago, but it's kind of based on the idea of, if you're in a classroom on a much more frequent basis, you're seeing a lot more than the traditional formal observation dog reporting shot kind of thing, so. But it's just the tool to capture all of that,
Yeah.
observer success is the tool itself.
Yeah.
So,
And then how frequently do the less formal walkthroughs happen? Is there guidance for it?
there is, it's in that teacher supervision and evaluation plan, which I can share with you all. We're gonna tweak it again this week, but I can share it back out. Because it calls for a specific number. If you're a new teacher, you're gonna get 2 formal observations and minimum X number of walkthroughs. And then if you're a more veteran teacher, you might get less formals and more walkthroughs of that. So yeah, I'll share that out with you all. All right, on to Mr. Bailey, who's taking a much needed vacation, so, but his number, so he has, so he's 40 fifth graders, 59 sixth graders, 70 to 75 seventh graders, and 66 eighth graders. That seventh grade is that we don't know where everyone's going just yet until we actually get things settled. So much of the summer has been spent finishing up student schedules for the upcoming school year. When I was speaking with Mr. Bailey just last week, he said, you know, if we had to open up tomorrow, I've got schedules for every kid, which is amazing that everyone's scheduled right now. So, you know, they've been working on their handbook, the student handbook. Again, we'll do some of that work this week coming, polishing that up, so that'll be ready for families. Another save the date, Monday, August 28th, there is a back to school barbecue. And it will be at the middle school in the green space. Students, parents, community members are invited. And it is, it will be, the timing is 3:30 to 5 or 3:30 to 5:30. So it looks like 3:30 is the start date. They're just not sure when the final time will be. And then they have officially hired a PE and a health teacher. So that is good news. We continue to work on the math. As I said here, there was a math interview set up for today. So I've been in the meeting all day, so I need to check in with his administrative staff to see how that went. And then they're setting up mentors and mentees for our new teachers. And he wanted to give a big shout out again to the custodians for all the hard work they have been doing and continue to do. So Rick, your crew has done an amazing job. So
They have.
we really appreciate it. So Art, we have been working with Janelle, who was the teacher last year, and the AOE. We would love to have her back. There seems to be some traction that the AOE has made some changes maybe, and so we're pursuing that. It's always a struggle with the AOE because just like us, they go on vacation during the summertime, and you know, so you do a lot of tracking down. But Nicole has been diligently working on that with her to see if we can secure certification, because we would love to have her back. If not, we've got some plans that we've been working out to how we can maybe fill that position. So
Okay. Sounds good. And at least we're looking at one of the now positions, so looks looking good that maybe we can.
yeah, Mr. Bailey and I really talked last week about some, you know, we've got, I would say we're up to about plan E or F. Like I like to have different plans, like if one doesn't happen, then 2 and kind of thing. So unfortunately we're on plan B already, but plan A didn't pan out. But I think that you know, he had a good plan. He really wanted to have some things secured before he went on vacation. So I'm hopeful that when I connect with his team tomorrow, that we might be asking for a special meeting. So.
You know, all of us are eager for math to be filled, so.
So I will tell you that any of our plans do not involve a remote teacher in any respect. We are 100% committed to, pardon me, our students will be, have a person who is qualified in mathematics in front of them, instructing them, so.
Thank you.
Thank you for
That's
all
good.
of your
That's
diligence in doing that. Yes. Okay, any other questions on Henry? I have one.
No, but
Pardon?
I have one after.
Go ahead, you can go ahead.
Well, we talked about, a summary of evaluations by the principals. And obviously, this was the meeting that they were supposed to be here, I guess. But the plan was to have them here at the first meeting. But if we don't have it at the next meeting, I'd like to have a date from Andy that basically says, when are we gonna have it?
Exactly. That's a good, I think that's a good request.
Because I was not at your last meeting, when you say a summary of teacher evaluations, could you just unpack that a little bit more for me so I can help direct them to what you're looking specifically for?
Well, in my world, the most important job of this principal is to evaluate and mentor and bring along teachers so that they excel in the classroom. Respecting the privacy issues, of course, doesn't allow disclosure of, here was this person that did. But the assurance or the discussion by each of the principals of the process they went through with each teacher, or teachers that they didn't include in the process for some reason, I don't know. Were there teachers put on plans, and how are those going? Just a general feel for their opinions of the competency levels of their staff.
Thank you, that's very helpful, and I think, I will reshare Laura's. I summarized a lot of what I think she touched on some of those things, so, as I read through it, I didn't go into great detail, but
Right.
I'll reshare hers, and I think that might hit some of it, but that's helpful for me, thank you. So,
Because you talked about the plan, the way they do it, but I think we wanted a little more specific. There are.
Yep.
Most of our teachers are at this level, and, like, how many are on cooperative plans? It's a good indication of where our teachers stand and the progress that they're making.
sure.
Speaking of that, Andy, I did get her report. It was there was a term that they used, they attached it or they did something with it, shared it. Laura made a comment in an email that said she's sharing her report. I didn't get hers.
So a while back, we had created a document that was a Rockingham board principals report, and then there's links on each one of them. The challenge there is, it was shared with you back when we first created it.
Oh,
You have to go find it every single time, so that's clearly not going to be effective to get it back up into your, because I went and searched for it, that's how I found her report, and Henry's, they're both linked in that report. So, I'll have to work with them to come up with a better method to make sure it's
just a way we can.
it gets right onto the top of your email.
It should be fine if it's all, as long as we just get the same link every time, that could
Yeah.
probably make it
Yeah,
easier.
that's-
so
I
we
just-
have it
yeah.
bookmarked, but as long as it's in the agenda
So-
or in the email with the
Yeah,
invite.
we just gotta clean that up a little
Yeah,
bit,
as
so
long as it
I
comes in.
I do apologize for that.
You're right, the link will work if it comes up. But I did not see either of those either, so that was a good explanation, thank you. Okay, any other questions, anything else on the evaluations, because it was listed on our as reports on evaluations. Okay. The superintendent update, and we put on there just an update maybe on the strategic planning that's going on. It's kind of a draft at this point. You would explain, but if you can do that in the PCB update that we kind of talked a little bit about.
Sure, so we've been working on an overarching strategic plan that kind of ties in not only the vision and goals that we have published out, but also our continuous improvement plan and the work that each building is doing with their instructional leadership teams. So I wanted to get a 5 to 7 year plan that covers many of those pieces. We'll be working administratively this week, looking at that and getting some feedback. We will then be putting that out to our stakeholders, looking for some more feedback to maybe tweak some of our language or some of our direction. And the hope is that by early summer or early fall, pardon me, as we get back, that we'll have a document that will be a public facing document for anyone to view, to see, you know, what direction are we going as an SU, but it will incorporate the work that each building is doing. So more to come on that piece. PCB's updates. First, let me just, again, I sent out a thing, but I'll just so everyone knows, I apologize that I didn't inform the board back when I worked to set us up with the class action lawsuit against Monsanto. It was an oversight on my part just to include it in one of my reports. The class action lawsuit it's a no-cost lawsuit, and it protects you from the potential of future harms. We know that the majority of our buildings, other than Grafton, was built during the time that these chemicals were used in many of the products put in schools. And it potentially could be that we have to do some remodel or laws change and we have to remove mastic in the corner that is on the thing. There might be PCBs in there and they might have to be mitigated as we remove them. And so the dollars that could come from this could help to cover those things. So it was really trying to think of not current problems that we know of, but unknown future problems sometime in the future, so that we're not depleting our capital reserves just to do that. So, as Rick kind of pointed out at the beginning, when we're trying to correct the minutes, the buildings within Rockingham School District have not been tested yet. They are scheduled to be tested, but that testing hasn't happened. It does take some time once the testing has happened to then get the results back. So it could be a few months once each building is tested. Off the top of my head, I just don't know the testing schedule. There was a loose one early on, so.
Yeah, well, it's my understanding that the way this works is they come in, they do their walkthrough, and then they devise submit a sampling plan to the state, which has to be approved by the state. That's when they come back and do the actual.
Right, and to further that is, so they do a walkthrough and they kind of think, oh yeah, we'll place here, that they're sample, they're testers. And then once they do that testing and they get those results, if anything comes back, quote unquote, hot, meaning that there's a high level of PCBs in the air, then they have to determine where they might be coming from. And then they do more targeted testing in those areas to see if the levels are at whatever the state has set for inappropriate levels. And once that has been determined, so if it's determined that it is in the purple paint on the columns here, I'm just looking up, then we would devise a plan for mitigating the purple paint on the columns. And so, and it has been somewhat of a moving target from the state as far as where they were with Burlington High School shutting the entire building down, to where the way they are talking today and the recommendations they are giving, if they were to apply those standards to Burlington today, Burlington might have had to shut a couple classrooms down. And that's all. So that's where the swing has gone. And I legislatively, I cannot recall off the top of my head where they left it at the end of their session. But there has been some talk on the Hill, or up at Montpelier of how they're going to address that. And I don't know if they're going to say stop. I don't know if they're going to change the numbers. That we don't know. So.
Has the filing of the lawsuits impacted in any way the PCB testing dates?
I do not to my knowledge.
I just had seen something today that was some kind of indication that might, so it was kind of in the back of my mind.
I had a conversation with our attorney today who said that one of the things that they've had to do is just to, the company wants to be present or have a representative during their scheduling. But he did not indicate that was delaying in any way. It's just been some scheduling pieces there. And I think that's the company's way of protecting themselves to say we're not, or not us exactly, but anyone who's getting tested is not fudging the samples really.
Any other questions?
Well, I think the obvious question, I don't know really if it's a question, is that it's sort of like the alarm went out with this Burlington High School closing. And then it goes into this somewhat bureaucratic and state resource morass. We're here now 2 years into this, and we don't know when the testing are. We as board members and certainly parents want to have at least cold comfort that the kids are safe coming to school. And I think that not to rush the process, but to the extent that there could be some feedback from the authorities, you or the state or whatever, that might allay concerns, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah.
And I feel as a board member, given the timing of the building of our 3 schools and the renovations, I feel very good that our kids are safe. Now, does that mean that a caulking somewhere on some window, might need to be changed or something like that? But I really think, I think as a board member that we're in good shape. Rockingham is in good shape for our pre-K through 8, and I hope parents share that view. But anyway,
And well, I had shared a slideshow mid-year last year, maybe Marchish, but I honestly can't remember when the date, but I can reshare it. It kind of does some of the walkthrough that you're talking about, like because what it was when, because PCBs is an issue nationally. It's not just a Vermont issue, it's a national issue. But Vermont adopted some very strict standards. And I don't want to quote the numbers, but very, very low levels of detection, whereas the federal government, is, the CDC and the EPA, their numbers were much higher, and so that was when Burlington had been tested, and that's why that had happened. And as Vermont has adjusted their numbers to kind of coincide with the science and the understanding, that's why you've seen this relaxation, or easing of the numbers. It's still a concern. It's still something we want to be very much aware of. And, just like asbestos, like we know we have a whole plan that if there, is asbestos detected, how we're gonna mitigate it and whatnot, but if it's holding steady, it's usually pretty good, you know, it's when it's airborne, it becomes the issue. So, yeah, I feel, as you say, very comfortable, because I think the work that Rockingham has done, because a lot of that testing has to be done when you go through those renovations, that a lot of that is potentially already been mitigated to some level, but like 100% certain, no. So, but as soon as we are getting numbers, we're publishing them, within our SU, Westminster School, for some reason, had been dubbed, that was the school they went into first. And when we got their results back, they were negative for any indication of PCBs. So, you know, I think that, we also moved the high school up because it had been originally scheduled out for 2025. So we moved it up because we wanted to make sure that, you know, as we got.
That was a good decision.
Exposure is has to be hours and hours and hours too.
Hours and years.
Years, yeah. So
It's something like 40 years in the same building for 10 hours a day. In the same, not even the building, the actual classroom or something like that. It is a, again, I might be exaggerating my numbers a little bit, so, but that's my understanding. It is a long-term exposure. So.
did you have a
I
question?
did. But I wanted to ask about the strategic plan. I'm really excited about that and about hearing more about it, but I was curious about the stakeholders, who you'll send it out to and how you'll get feedback and share that feedback back with folks.
Yeah, so we're gonna use Thought Exchange as one of our initial push outs. That's our online platform that allows us to kind of do cloud sourcing and kind of do cloud feedback groups, focus groups, because they can answer on those things and do that. We are also this year going to be setting up at the SU level 3 kind of advisory groups. One is going to be a teacher advisory group, another one's going to be a student advisory group, and the other one's going to be a parent community advisory group. And so we'll have more information out on that coming soon. But we'll utilize, you know, that I'll say more traditional method of trying to bring people in and get them. We'll have copies of our strategic plan available for people to, you know, go on the website, look at, and then provide us also that feedback, you know, through a link or whatnot. So probably utilize a lot of the open house time, because that seems to be a time when you're capturing, you know, parents are in the building and have some devices available for them to look at and get that feedback. So.
Any other questions?
I have one. It hit the papers today about the bus lease. I've actually had a couple of calls of confusion, whatever. I didn't think it was a bad article, but anyway, one of the implications of the bus studies that were going on this summer and led to the lease of these 7 new buses was the utilization that had been going on in recent years, including this past year, of the buses. And one of the charges that that came out of the SU decision was to task Andy with a charge to make it clear to the building principals just what services our busing will provide and what services we don't provide. Because the total utilization and really the issue isn't the bus routes. It isn't bringing the kids to and from school. It's all the other stuff. And you know, in order to be anywhere near cost effective with this very expensive service, we have to these rules or what we will do and what we won't do really need to be communicated, and they need to be communicated in the next few weeks because school is starting. So I hope again in probably not at this board, but maybe at the SU board, we will hear just what those guidelines are going to be for bus utilization. Because I think as far as the board is concerned, we've bought buses that we've leased buses that have a yearly limit of 16,000, I guess now. It was originally 15,000, and we certainly do not expect utilization to exceed that number in any year going forward. So it does present a challenge, but I think one that is fairly easy to implement.
Yeah, well said.
Okay. So no question, just comment, okay? Anything else on strategic planning or PCD testing? Okay, not seeing anything. Unfinished old business. We have the tuition policy, and that's sent out to each of you. I can have a copy of that too.
Are you looking for feedback on that document?
Chris, any discussion, anything so that we can post it, hopefully after tonight.
I thought it was well done. My only question is, has the attorney had a look at it?
We will want to confirm that it's okay. It is, a lot of it is based, it's either based on, you know, the information from Westminster, they did in theirs that we wanted to keep in ours, and also direct quotes from the statutes. So it's pretty precise and pretty well right there.
Yes, so my suggestion would be that you run it by the attorney, and then if there are no issues on that front, go ahead and post it.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we will. Is the board in agreement on that? I know, Caitlin, you wanted real specifics. Are you comfortable with these?
Yeah, I think just
Okay.
this is also maybe part of what we had discussed with like the difference between policy and procedure and being a little bit newer in the implementation of this. I wanted to make sure, because the Westminster policy was so specific about what needed to happen with a letter going to the board to confirm here what the needs are, we agree that we will pay it, and here we don't have in the policy what the process is. And I just want to make sure that somewhere it is clear what the policy or the procedure is for confirming that. So there's documentation that we have for all of these steps, and there's no question about the agreement or the school's assertion that they're able to meet any of the needs. So that was one question that I had, is if the procedure can lay out those steps, and if so, where, like if I were a parent looking at this, I wouldn't necessarily know what that procedure was or what the steps are. So thinking about where that lives and how to find it.
I think there's and Andy, if you want to speak to it and read it, then that's okay. But I was going to say that that this also covers our Graf Athens kids and our Westminster kids, and there is a procedure well laid out for them to, if they are on an IEP. We've also, our special ed department has also been working with those students, so they would know their special needs. Where it would come into play is with someone coming in new to the district, and special ed has the requirements that if they're coming in on an IEP, the IEP has to be furnished to the special ed department, and they would review that anyway. So the special needs are covered, we covered that way. And we would be able to ask at our meeting whether all those were covered, and administration would be able to let us know that we were able to do that.
So I apologize, I don't have the actual tuition policy in front of me. But thank you. We cannot deny.
No, we're not denying.
But so I'm just saying that if a student, any student moves into our district, we cannot, like, if they have an IEP or whatever their needs are, if they are a resident of our district, we have to accept them.
But
and
this is for
provide-
non-resident.
I understand that. And if you were to look at any non-resident, you could not use that as any criteria in any way. You cannot deny someone access. If you're gonna you take a student, you do not take a student based on their needs and what their level of needs are. So if you accept, if you, and because I did have parts of this that Westminster's vetted with our attorney. So that is it's a huge thing. You can't discriminate because a student's gonna cost you more money that you're not gonna take that student into your district.
Like Bear says, we are just making sure that we are able to cover them without any additional interventions and supports, without any additional resource that the student needs. We have
You
to-
cannot, that's what I'm saying, you cannot.
That's what Bear says.
I'm-
Any more detail than what ours says.
Priscilla?
Yes,
So, is that one section is the one, which is the section A under criteria for admission,
right.
is actually the one, I would want an attorney to read over, to make sure we're compliant with the law.
We'll do that, Chris, and make sure that that's okay, and if not, we'll adjust it and then post it. That's okay.
I think the other thing I wanted to just clarify is for the roles that it's the board accepts the recommendation of the administration of the school, like the in consultation piece, just so like if we were applying this policy, if somebody applies to come from another district and the school says that they are equipped to meet the needs, then our role as the board is just to say, yes, we accept that. We don't make any other qualitative assessment about the student's fit for the
That's
school.
right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not for us to,
We just accept the administration recommendation.
right, because we have to, like Andy was saying, and it says under the criteria, we are admitting them, we are not denied admission for any of those protected categories that are there
Yeah.
by federal or state law. So we've covered all of those.
Yeah, it'd be hard to imagine the circumstance that they haven't already faced, you know.
Yeah.
But clearly, the idea here is not to exclude kids. It's to basically make sure that we charge tuition.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I mean, and of course, if some kids have special needs, that has to be, the school has to get prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just information.
All right, so we'll run that by there, and is everybody okay with it, as long as it's okay with you, John? And then I'll get it posted after I do that, I'll take care of that. Okay. So we did it by consensus and all agreed, so. We have the audit 2022 on here again. The only thing that we didn't ask was, Jigs had asked about the management letter. And that's why I quickly asked Jim, and Jim will send that out tomorrow, he said. So we will have that. Okay. I think that covered that. Anything under 5-year capital improvement plan and maintenance? We had one sent out to us last time. Are there any adjustments to that? Anything that updated that?
No, I do not have any more updates as far as costs go. I did have, I will mention that what I had on that FY25 for the exterior painting of Central Elementary, I did get a proposal on that back in 2017 for 22 grand, which based upon what the engineers recommend, about 3% each year, that would bring that cost up FY25 to right around 28 grand for the exterior painting of Central Elementary. Other than that, I have no other updates for costs.
Is there anything scheduled in any of our 3 schools?
Well, The ESSER projects that are going on, right now.
The security and the front.
Right, the security and the, well, that leads into the next.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see.
Okay, so there's nothing new on that at this
Correct.
point. Okay, we'll cover that. Jim's question in the next one under ESSER project, if that's all that's been scheduled. Unless there was one other thing that we had talked about scheduling, that was the steps up to the middle school here. Where are we on that?
I was not aware that that discussion took place.
We talked about that because that's a big need and that they're crumbling.
Yeah, we have no costs on that. That would be a cap project.
Right,
I can ask Mr. Horton to take a look at them. And just because if we've got a company that's out and it's like a small job that they can do, or if it's a side job of someone else, he'll tell us very quickly if it's something we can include in some of the projects we're already doing. Like when we do the security entrance at Saxon's River, we're gonna have to do a little bit of maintenance work on the old front steps, but that'll become the new main entrance.
Right.
So it's not that they're in horrible shape or crumbling or anything of that nature. They're a little potted, and it's poured concrete from gosh knows when. And so there's a product you can put on it that will seal it up, and so we're gonna take the time and but we're also going to explore, is it more cost effective also just to yank those out and put in some fresh steps that are gonna be up to code and stuff like that. So Mr. Horton's he's on some time off, but we're supposed to connect and go out and look at a couple of schools, but I can definitely also look at these and probably get a cost here. So.
Yeah, well, we have some concrete work that needs to be done by the entryway at Central as well, which
Yes.
I'm in the process of contacting some contractors for that.
Okay, yeah.
There's also some sidewalk works. I've been in contact with the highway department as to how far down because that front step area is ours to take care of, but further down the sidewalk, I'm trying to.
Right, you've got that, the sidewalk
Right.
is the cities,
Yes,
but,
exactly.
and if you don't fix both, then it's just your fix could just get
Exactly.
undermined by.
Yeah, and
don't
they
fix
are in
their-
the process.
Yeah.
Doing the roads and.
so
But
is that,
the coping around the roof here or whatever, that's another masonry related issue.
Exactly.
I thought all these things, like the steps and stuff, were on Steve's list. Are they not on his list?
I do not believe those steps are on his list.
I had spoken to him about it, but as far as where he is right now, has been focusing really on the ESSER projects.
Yeah.
But that's why, as that's becoming more construction management company, and I can pull him out and have him start looking at some of these other projects
Okay.
for us, so.
Yeah, because I think we'd like to.
Yeah.
To move forward on some of these things.
So we'll get some costs and we can come back and let you know, and
But it makes sense, since we've got him, it makes sense to put all masonry type things, whether it's in Westminster or the high school or
Yep.
any place else, all in the same pocket. Get them done.
Chris?
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of remind folks, yes, we have to comply with the bidding requirements, but we can go ahead and make these repairs and, for now, charge them to the maintenance budget, but we have until June next year to assign money from our capital funds, and take it out of the budget. So these things can move forward, and we have quite a bit of capital repair money to spend on them. So I would agree. Let's go ahead and get done what we can get done.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like basically the board's in consensus that, and the
So
masonry
what-
stuff and
but I
that.
do think-
we'll work with Rick and I and Steve will work together, and if it's like working with Steve, it's gonna feel like it's gonna take a little bit more time, then I think we'll just try and do something like we've always done, and but then we'll come back with, these are the costs and let you all know, because, you know, that way we just get the,
Right.
whatever we're spending, you know, so Jim can delete there. So, yeah.
Thank you. And so the next thing is ESSER projects, expenditures to date and upcoming.
So was that last Wednesday passed out or before that, just what we've allocated, but also some of those, were things that were spent. Shirley Lynch, who's our grant, manager in the business office, she, has been on vacation. And today she went to a training, so I haven't had a chance to talk with her. I have let her know that I need, the expenditures versus, or actuals versus expenditures as soon as possible, so she is aware of it and, hoping to get that for you all very shortly. And as soon as I have that, we'll put that out separate from my normal report on a monthly basis so that it's out sooner. But as far as, projects within Rockingham, the roof here, especially over the auditorium, is, on the list, and I believe, Steve is finalizing things to move forward with that bidding process. The kitchen project.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
the bidding process is done. We're just,
Done, sorry.
the contract is just waiting on the permit and the materials.
Okay.
For the little.
Well, and before we can do that, though, we've got to collect all that and send that up to the state and get approval, so that's
For
good.
the actual funding.
For each individual project.
Yeah.
So,
May I ask who won the roofing bid?
so he knew, because I was off, so I don't.
RH Roofing,
Where are they? I look,
I believe it's East Hampton, Mass.
East Hampton, yes, okay.
They did the 1955 section here several years back, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Very good company.
There's also supposed to be, the roof at Central. Was that part of it, or is that a separate bid?
That will be separate,
And
the
then,
most needy section of roof was the auditorium over the middle school, so that's what Steve tackled first.
Good. The work on the kitchen at Central Elementary, we're looking at a proposed date of like a mid-fall, October-ish, maybe November later. Just finalizing those plans. Some of it's the bidding piece, but as soon as we get that and get approval from the state, we'll move forward with that project. Steve, there's a whole plan for how they'll section off a small part of the gymnasium. Vacuum so that all the air goes out, it doesn't go anywhere into the building type of thing. And that work will get done. And then the work at Staxton's River, they were finalizing some things with the architect as far as what kind of material will be used for cabinetry and stuff like that. So we're at that point of that stage, but there's some bidding that needs to come back and get that pushed up. So those are those big plans. The work that Ricky Adams was doing as far as security upgrades. So wiring was redone in all of the buildings. There was network updates in, I believe, all of the buildings. Central was probably the bigger rat's nest, so to speak, just because it was an older closet that needed to be upgraded. Here at the middle school, they've installed already, and at Central, the new entrance piece. So as you come in, I don't know if it's online just yet, but as far as there'll be a keyless swipe, so staff members will be able to swipe and come in. But there's new cameras that Ricky was showing me. The people who have access will be able to even pull up from their cell phone and look at cameras, type of thing. So if an alarm goes off, technically speaking, Rick can pull up the app and can look at cameras and kind of see where there might be a problem. But it's upgrading the outdoor cameras, but also the cameras in our hallways, so we have better coverage. in all of but that's not just here, but it's in all the buildings, so, we upgrade it there. Trying to think what else. What's probably the biggest project that we've been working on? Been some updates with fire alarm systems and just the memory boards and stuff of that nature, so.
Any questions? Thank you, Andy. Sure. For all that information, it helps us a lot. New business for discussion, review and approve policy B21.
I'll move
Professional
approval.
development. Pardon?
I'll move approval.
Okay, this was posted July 26, 2023. And are there any questions on the policy? Pretty straightforward. It's just a slight update from our last one and in keeping with what the ESDA suggested. Sentence there.
I've lost you folks there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's my fault. I was thinking that there was another sentence on that, but it may not be. It may have been at the start that there were two sentences, but I'll double check that to make sure there wasn't another sentence. And if there was, I'll look at the posting again. All right, so, you made a motion to approve it. So, any follow-up, any questions? Okay, so let's vote. Chris?
Yes,
Bill?
Yes.
Caitlin? Yes. Okay, I'll set with that. Okay, we have a tuition request. No, did you have that also, Andy?
I was not aware of one, so I apologize.
Let me see if I can bring it up.
Thank you.
Pardon?
I was just saying thank you to Rick, that's all.
Yes, thank you, Rick.
You are welcome.
Good
night.
You too.
Let's see.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
Good tuition request.
Where's he going?
Oh. He's been going, I think, since 6 a.m., so I got it.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, Andy, I think you're the one that sent it to me. And we did. You said it's from a while back though. It was 6/29/23, and that you sent it on to from Nicole and from Cheryl. And then it reads, and it's signed by Cheryl Charles. The Westminster School Board voted on June 1 to approve the request of parent and principal Liz Hardy to allow her daughter Marlo Hardy to attend the Westminster Center School during the 2023-24 school year. The vote was consistent with the board's policy concerning such request. Attached, please find the request from Principal Hardy in the school district's approved policy. The Westminster School Board respectfully requests that Rockingham pay tuition for Marlo to attend the Westminster School in 2023-24. As additional background, the Westminster School Board began development of their policy in June of 2022 and worked out on several months and review and support the legal counsel in the process. So the request from Liz says, dear members of the Westminster School Board, I'm writing to request that my daughter Marlo Harlow remain at WCS for 6th grade. Marlo began at the center school as a 3-year-old in Miss Lisa's preschool class and will be entering 6th grade in the fall. Marlo has flourished at WCS with various opportunities to create, make, explore, and connect with students and staff that I feel are being great special here in Westminster. Thank you, Liz Hardy. Okay. I believe that what happened, they moved to Rockingham.
So,
And so if the student were to come here, she would simply be coming 1 year earlier. She would be coming in 6th grade with students that, other students that she has known previously, but not in the same grade. So they are requesting tuition from Rockingham to Westminster.
I would say,
Is-
I would
does-
say not to pay the tuition.
Okay, so-
I think Westminster ought to, if they wanna let the child continue to attend the school, then let the child attend the school.
Okay, so James has made the motion to not pay tuition for this child to attend Westminster.
I agree with Jim.
So do we have any other discussion or?
Just clarifying the policy, because of their policy, tuition is not required by the sending district for the child to attend.
It is not required for this particular child.
no, it is
Okay.
not required
Yeah.
for any child. They will request tuition, but it's not a requirement for them.
It is up to us to decide whether we will.
No,
pay
what
tuition
I'm trying to say is, their admissions of that child is not, the tuition being paid is not a requirement. They will request the district that is sending to them for admission after the fact, but if they admit a child and the sending district chooses not to pay or refuses not to pay, they will still allow that child to attend their building.
It's up to decide. It's their decision. It's their decision. It's up to us to decide.
That's what
whether
I'm trying to say.
we pay tuition.
For them to admit a child, tuition is not the criteria for if they'll admit the child or not. So if they've decided to admit the child, because they've already agreed to admit this child, if Rockingham chooses to not pay tuition, which is within your rights, they are not going to deny that child access to the building. They will allow that child to still attend. So that's what I'm saying.
Understood.
Okay, so do we need any other discussion or are we ready to vote? Okay, the motion is to not pay the tuition for the request for tuition to Westminster for the 2023-24 school year. How do you vote, Chris?
I'm in favor of that motion.
If
Yeah.
you vote yes, you're not paying the tuition. If you vote no, you're voting to pay it.
Yep.
So which way do you vote, Chris?
I vote yes, not to pay the tuition.
Okay, Bill,
Yes.
Caitlin, yes, and Jim.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so, we just voted to not pay tuition for that child to attend Westminster.
Can I come back a little bit here and going back to our
Yes.
previous discussion on, remember I kind of quizzed Jim Benzina about who gets to count kids. That kiddo's our kid.
Yes.
Yes,
ADM stays with Rockingham. Yes.
yes,
That kid is our kid.
Yes.
yes. The other thing on tuition that is something for the board to think about, with the number of students that we do tuition in from Graff Athens and from Westminster, is whether we want to consider, and it's not something that I'm really thinking about considering tonight, I'm just bringing it up so that the board can think about it for future meetings. Jim was suggesting that possibly we might want to consider a discount, a percentage off if all students in a particular grade attended a Rockingham schools. It might be incentive enough for the towns to put a little more for their students to attend. That would give us control over the curriculum And everything those children are learning because they are in the future part of our Union High School. And that would be the high school that they would be attending unless they did school choice, because they are our children. So it's just something to think about for future possibilities. Chris?
Yeah, and my immediate reaction is, yes, that would be nice, but my experience is that parents make very personal decisions about their children and where they're going to send them, and might not be particularly swayed by the fact that their school district is going to save a few bucks. So yeah, that'd be what just to think about that too. You know, parents make decisions based on all kinds of things, like where they go to work and, where the siblings went and whether they like somebody or they don't, something in the worst cases. But anyway, there are a lot of factors.
Right.
I think the other factor is that, we're basically taking our people cost and using that as the rate of tuition. I mean, it's not like we're building a profit margin in, so that, the idea is, we're paying that for our own kids, and we would expect the people in the other towns to pay the same price, and that's, I think that's the equitable thing to do, and I agree with Chris. It's school choice is a very interesting thing, particularly how it's employed in the three towns that we're familiar with. So.
And we might never have that scenario where we had all of them from a grade anyway, was my thought. So, and my first reaction when he suggested was that, well, if we had students coming from other schools, say maybe from Putney, or another school outside the district, then you have to be equitable in offering it, but we would never probably ever have all of those students coming anyway, so it wouldn't matter, kind of thing. It was just something that he brought up and I thought I'd share with you to think about. Okay, appointments and resignations, we don't have any, okay. I don't think there's going to be any need for an executive session either. So we're at director's comments. I'll start with you, Chris.
Sure. Here's just a little preview of budgeting season coming up. I spoke with Jim Benzina today about where things are at the business office, and when it was going to be practical to start to look at budgets. So they have auditors coming next week. They're still really fully into the transition to the Infinite Visions accounting system. And one of the most important things is getting payroll into this system. And we're also coming up on what is the largest transitional payroll of the year, which is the one that comes just as teachers and paraprofessionals come back at the beginning of September. So that's a pretty intensely busy time for the central office and payroll, and for the administrators too, because it's a lot of paperwork to be shuffled around. So the offshoot of this is, once those salaries are in the Infinite Visions system, the main ones for everybody, then it allows Jim to generate budgets based on the people we already employ this year, so that's the salary spreadsheets that we look at. That's where it comes from. It comes from payroll. Of course, payroll then has to be updated to account for collective bargaining agreements and for next year. So bottom line, I think we're looking at mid-September, late September, early October for really them having all that in place and ready, you know, for us to have a look at as board members. That doesn't mean that principals can't, and Andy and principals can't, you know, start on other parts of their budgets and start thinking about that. And they need to think about their personnel for next year, even though that is a crazy impossible task at this point, but that's the way school budgeting works. So I just wanted to give everybody kind of a little update on that. And we probably won't have a finance committee meeting until September or late September. And hopefully that will be kind of the first look at the WNESU budget. But it's really going to be everybody's budgets are going to start to be presentable at that point. That's it. Just wanted to fill you in.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, thanks, Priscilla. This is a bit of an unorthodox request, but there's a family on my block with 2 boys that go to this school. And about 2.5 months ago, they lost their apartment. Since then, they've been living at the Motel Roadway Inn. The husband works. I believe the wife also has a part-time job. They're not deadbeats. As we've had experience with getting new staff a place to live, it's really tough in this area to find available apartments. I'm just mentioning this in case you come across somebody who has or knows of a 2-bedroom apartment that's available. It's father, mother. There's a 2-year-old and then the 2 boys that attend school here where we are. They can afford to rent up to about $1,600 per month. So if you know of somebody or have a lead, please let me know and I'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Because I don't know how much longer they can continue to stay at this motel. Thank you.
Caitlin?
I just want to say thank you to Andy for talking about the strategic plan. It's something I'm really interested in seeing develop, and I think as a board, it's really helpful to have that kind of a document to guide our decisions and think about how we're working in the best interest of the priorities and the vision for the district. So I'm excited to hear more about that, particularly as we look at some of the assessment data and think about what that tells us about where those priorities are. So yeah, just thank you for sharing. I'm excited to continue to talk about it.
Yes.
We still haven't seen test scores. I know summer is nice for vacations, but soon we're going to be in. It's also a time, I think, to deal with things like, teacher evaluations, test scores and things like that, because then everybody, wants to get into the process of teaching our kids, which is what we want them to do. So, again, I don't know why that didn't make it onto the agenda. It missed it. It was on the last agenda. It missed again. So I guess we got one more meeting there.
You don't normally answer that, but she was out, and that's why. Because I keep asking for it, and it's listed on the agenda item as assessment data. For my comments, the other thing forgive me, I skipped the Zoom that we had put on as B for new business. Basically, I think the discussion would have been that we need, Bill brought up that AI is going to say that they can use all of our Zoom data, our facial recognition, our data, and all of that stuff. There are changes coming to the Zoom system start on August 23rd, he told me. And so I think at this point, what I would like is for Ricky and the administration to look into to see whether there's any impact on us with those new changes and what is going on, because I don't know enough about it to be able to comment or anything else. I will let you comment again if you want to.
It's just that this seems to be a privacy policy change with Zoom. And that they are notifying people, and again, this needs to be checked out by Ricky, because I don't know, this was passed to me by someone who I know and who's reliable. They sent me excerpts of these changes, and basically it says that through AI, they will be able to track our data, our facial recognition, our personal information, and who knows where that would be sent along to. So it's a privacy issue that we need to just double check on to make sure that anybody who participates in Zoom still has basic privacy protections.
So I'll leave that up to the administration and Ricky. And I would comment that, yes, we're headed into, getting closer and closer to school. And everybody is going to be gearing up for school to start very shortly. So, continue your patience, continue your caring for any individuals in the community and your staff that's coming back on board and that kind of stuff. Agenda items for next meeting, we do have assessment data on there, and I just added and evaluations because they did not cover that tonight. And a discussion of the 2023 deficit, the issue surplus, if we need any more on that. Is there anything else that people want on there for agenda items at this point? Well, if you think about things in the meantime, that's fine. Our next meeting is actually an all board meeting on August 16th. So I didn't know how this board was feeling about the following Monday. That's a Wednesday. And then
I think this is for Rockingham. That will come up at that all board meeting.
yeah, right, all board, those are for hours, but whether we want to schedule that in August or whether we want to wait till the first week in September.
Well, I think if we can get some of these reports, we ought to get them.
So too, but I'm not.
Just, pushing that ball down the.
Yeah.
Thing doesn't make any sense.
Okay. So, August 16th is an all board meeting, and our next meeting today is what, 7, will be the 21st of August. And hopefully we can have those reports at that time. Is there anything, and if there's anything else that any of the board members want on there, we can, please send it to me for consideration so that I can see about getting it on there. Okay. If there's nothing else, I would go by consensus and adjourn the meeting. Okay, I'm seeing all yes positive.
Yes.
So the meeting is adjourned at 7:08.